tested before. I've really learned it the hard way when I ran my first marathon. I read online that you should load carbs, so ate a lot of pasta in the evening and then laid in bed for I think like 2 to 3 hours and couldn't sleep because I've eaten so much and also had eaten only pasta without any protein source or vitamins like vegetables. So I got less sleep and felt really, really tired in the morning of the race. So, yeah, it's actually simple, but we often want to change up our whole routine before a big event or, yeah, before a big thing because we want to perform at our best. But it's actually really, really simple. Stick to your everyday rhythm, especially before a big event. And you can actually use this rule for every area of your life. So, my second suggestion would be because my weakness of the third discipline, of the three disciplines, was swimming, I definitely wanted to test it in open water because I knew the triathlon was also going to be in open water in the Lake of Zurich. And I thought that the fastest and best way to learn something new is to attend a training from Tempo Sport in Zurich at a lake near Zurich with some of the best athletes in triathlon in Switzerland. And we also had an ex-female athlete, I can't remember her name, unfortunately, who got second even in Hawaii, so the biggest triathlon of the world, which, yeah, everyone probably knows if they know something about triathlon. And yes, as said, it was hosted by Tempo Sport, and I can really highly recommend them. They did a great job, and I even got some personal coaching at the end of the 3-hour lesson, I think, how to just perfect and better my crawling technique because it wasn't really the best. And I also saw how to swim in a wetsuit because that is something totally different too. We practiced various exercises in the lake, from swimming over the legs of another person to the different kinds of starts there are at a triathlon. So, where everyone starts or where you start in small groups, and also how to orient yourself in the lake because you can't see the line like when swimming. Like when swimming in a normal pool, you don't have a line on the ground that you swim straight, but you have to do this to really look forward a couple of times while swimming. One athlete also showed us how to take off a wetsuit in less than 7 seconds. So that's also a great skill if you, I don't know, have a girl over at your place and want to impress her. Yeah. So another great advice, and what's also got a little where I got a little relief was that you don't have to crawl all the time. You can also swim breaststroke in between. So the tip from the swimming coach was also to get in front because it is more difficult to overtake others than to be overtaken. However, I didn't really do that because I didn't like it to be overtaken. So I started when swimming pretty much at the end of everyone else, and I then just overtook a couple of swimmers. Yeah. And at the race, I have to say, we didn't swim with a wetsuit because the water was over 21 degrees, and you're not allowed to wear a wetsuit at, I think we had 22 or 23 degrees. So the third suggestion is really something that was important for me, but I can imagine not for everyone. It is so important because it lets me keep going when my brain says it doesn't want anymore. And that's listening to motivational audiobooks, YouTube videos, or other people which just inspire me. I listen to an audiobook, for example, it's called Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins. I will link it down below. It was some days before the race, and David Goggins, the author, is an athlete who even finished, I think, an ultra marathon with 2 broken legs. So totally crazy dude. And I also found a very, very interesting book, which is called Endure, Mind, Body, and the Curiously Elastic Limits of Human Performance from Alex Hutchinson. And yeah, in his interview, he says that there's lots of debate about exactly how the brain controls endurance. But there are 2 key concepts that are thought about right now. The first one is fundamentally that your brain is just trying to protect you, and it does this by trying to anticipate what's going to happen. So if you go running, for example, on a hot day, you go slower, not because your core temperature is at a dangerous zone, but because your brain is worried that it's going to reach a dangerous zone and you're going to overheat and cause damage. Fundamentally, all of those warnings and perceptions and feelings of discomfort are designed to save you from your own worst decision making, and that requires your brain to be smart and anticipate the future. And this also comes out of Tim Nowak's work, I think he's called, and he called this the theory of the brain as central governor. So the central governor who is controlling everything. I will soon publish an article about the second key point, why your brain says no before your body does. So if you don't want to miss this, be sure to check out my newsletter. I will send one every Sunday, where I just send practical self-help tips and tools I experienced this week. And yeah, if you want to subscribe to it, be sure to check in the description again. So I also want to push myself further and believe that it's really great, because when I feel exhausted, drained, and just don't want to keep going anymore, I believe I will get more self-confidence because I let just the fear behind me and push through. And also in the future, I will have other challenges which will come, and I will get through them with so much more ease, I believe, from any area of my life when having pushed through this challenge of the triathlon or marathon or whatever. And I'm going to also raise the standards of future challenges, and they will not feel as difficult and hard when I'm not having done this in the marathon or triathlon. And in the moment, it is maybe hard when pushing through, maybe hard as hell, and you don't want to keep going. But if you have gotten through it and look back at this moment, you will thank your past self that you have pushed through this, probably. Number 4 is to start slow. And this is probably the most important tip I would give to someone. During the end of the race, you can still catch up, and it's a great feeling to bypass all the people at the end of the race. You also get an extra kick of motivation when being faster than everyone else at the end. And I also saw it at the marathon, for example, that many people were walking at least the last kilometers, a couple of kilometers of the marathon. And yeah, it happens to many people that they just start so fast, and after half the distance, they notice, oh shit, I have drained all my energy. I don't have energy anymore. And yeah, they drag themselves into the finish line or don't even finish the race. And that's pretty sad, I think. So that's a really, really important tip. Just start slow in the beginning. Then number 5, also something very important, I believe, is having the right equipment. And the 3 things which you definitely should have at a triathlon, I believe, is to have good swimming glasses, a tri-suit, I will explain later what that exactly is, and a good race bike. So good swimming glasses are really such a game changer. Starting off with swimming with your water in your glasses or not seeing anything because they are foggy is something you don't want to have, trust me. I had this issue, and I can link the glasses below if you want, that you know which glasses not to buy. The second thing is to get a good bike. I borrowed a bike from a friend and only tested it one time, I think, to get to know the switching of the race bike. But it is less than 1,000 euros, and I had such a huge advantage compared with other people who had their mountain bike, even though I didn't really train for biking. Here I knew while the race, I think in the second round, that I must paddle like a maniac. This was definitely my unfair advantage, where I was really fast and I knew I have to get the most out of cycling just because I had a better bike than many. And yeah, there's also a great book for an unfair advantage, which is actually called The Unfair Advantage. I will also link this in the description, where the book is about that we all have an unfair advantage. Like, for example, a doctor who already has a degree, if he now makes a video, for example, on YouTube, it's his unfair advantage to be a doctor because he already has this knowledge and he already went to medical school, and many people would like to be a doctor and maybe also have the skills of him and the social status. So, and he can use this then on YouTube, for example, this unfair advantage to present his knowledge, and so many more people will follow him than someone else who talks about medicine and doesn't have this title of a doctor, this unfair advantage. Then the third thing is to buy a tri-suit, which I wore for swimming, cycling, and running. And I will also share again a link that you know how it looks like, and also which I bought. I bought mine a little too small, and my roommate just cut it under my arms. And then back then it fitted perfectly well. So, and it's also great to just to have one tri-suit and don't change clothes when switching from swimming to cycling and from cycling to running. So that was I believe that I have just reduced the time with this. And number 6 is called Back to the Roots, and that just actually is really simple tip, but really important. So it's just to check the running, cycling, and swimming route. I've heard from some people at the Zurich Triathlon that they finished after one round of running, but actually you had to run 2, or finishing after 3 rounds of cycling instead they have had 4. And yeah, this is just sad because those are really, really easy things to do to inform yourself about the route, and you're running or swimming or also cycling. And normally everything is marked, but I would suggest to also look at Google Earth at least to get a view of how the area looks like, just that also your brain gets familiar with it, and then that you're not so nervous when then going to the race. The second last thing, which I have actually just covered, it's really to be prepared. But, and that's a really, really big but, don't inform yourself more than you need. I looked up how to run a marathon the day before I started, and the same, maybe a little more preparation is true for the triathlon. Maybe some would say that it's naive or not really responsible, but I believe that you will really save time and also perform better because Parkinson's law will take place. And this suggests that work will expand to fill the time we allocate to it. So, for example, if we have 5 weeks till our English essay deadline, we will probably search for nice pictures, change our decisions several times about the topic, or we write about, and will probably not be very productive overall. However, if we shorten the period of time till the deadline, so let's say 1 week, it will be quick and efficient doing the work and really leaving out the unnecessary parts, because maximizing the amount of work not done is really essential. So at the same time, you're not going to make yourself nervous weeks before the race, and you will also remember pretty much everything because it's just fresh in your brain. And last but not least, definitely take those energy gels, which they are handing out during the race. They're freaking amazing. I had at least 4 of them when doing the triathlon, and I was so energized. Even when I came back home, then I couldn't sleep. So maybe also because they had caffeine in it, and I usually don't have coffee. But yeah, this is just a quick tip also on the way. And yeah, so that's actually it. That are my 8 recommendations for running a triathlon. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions about, because you're considering to take part of an Olympic triathlon in the future, but you don't know where to start, you can definitely contact me anytime. I'm glad to support. Thank you for listening to this episode, and until next time. Bye bye.